I think Florian will be, well, it's a 3, it's 2:59, so let's um, give it a little time so the people who accepted can join the call.
Okay, that sounds good.
Well, let me know when you guys can see my screen.
We can.
All right. So I will tell you that I just got recently added to this account. My name is Mike Taylor. I've been with PRGX for about 3 years, working as an account executive. So I've got experience working with some pretty big brands here, both as a growth account executive, like working with current clients, but also on the new business side. So I'm honored to be your account executive. So
Honored to have you,
Thanks,
Michael.
Mike.
you got it.
I'll just start off too, Mateo. You know, I know I've worked with you before, but I'm going to be the audit team lead on this audit as we move forward on the day-to-day operations. I know the last time we spoke was in mid 2025 when Kathy was on board, and with Josh, we were kind of in the middle of going from starting the data acquisition to getting the addendum. So we finally got the addendum signed up, which is good.
Yeah, it took us a while, but it was
We
clear.
did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to mention for anybody else who's online is that right now I'm also performing at the same capacity audits with other affiliates. I think we talked about this, Mateo, with DHL Express Canada, DHL Express US, as well as DHL Supply Chain. So I'm working with Nawaz and Daryl Yearwood and Lori Whitaker in the same capacity.
Perfect. Awesome.
All right.
I guess on our side, so we have the Canada team. We have Florian, which is our CFO. Then we have Sammy as well, and we have Sharon as well. And well, you guys already met Neville. And of course, on my side, supporting from the procurement side in terms of the implementation and anything that is needed in between. Happy to support.
Perfect.
Great.
And on our side, we've got David Brown, our VP of Operations, on the audit side, as well as Carolyn, who works as a Director of Audit Operations for PRGX.
Perfect. Also saw Ahmad joining, so he's also on the call from the Canada team as well.
Oh, okay.
Controlling. Okay.
Okay. I'm
Excellent. So it's nice to meet you guys. We would love to start this kickoff talking you through an agenda. With that agenda, we're going to talk you through our typical audit process. We're going to also do a scope overview to ensure that we're both on the same page in terms of what we will be doing and conducting during this audit. As part of that, we'll also kind of go through a pre-audit checklist to give you an idea of kind of what is expected on both ends when it comes to the audit itself, and then next steps as well. So just to kind of kick us off here, in terms of what we're going to cover, kind of just cover this for you. But again, this just gives you an idea of all those different areas that we just discussed. So once again, my name is Michael Taylor, PRGX Sales Director. We talked about David Brown and Carolyn Ferris as well in terms of introductions. You guys introduced yourselves as well. Thought it would be good for you to visualize.
You're muted.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
All right, perfect. My name is Michael Taylor. Once again, nice to meet you guys. Sales Director with PRGX. David Brown is our Head of Operations on the commercial side. David, did you want to say hello?
You're muted as well.
I have to chirp myself. Hi, my name is David Brown. I run our global operations on the accounts payable audit side, supporting the audits. Carolyn will be your lead on this account, but nice to meet everyone.
Thank you.
Perfect. And she'll be your day-to-day contact to be able to help talk you through and manage the audit. In terms of our overall audit plan and typically the process that we go through, and David, obviously you can jump in help here too. But this is kind of our step-by-step process in terms of doing a recovery audit. So kind of the early stages that we look at in terms of getting an audit going, we're focusing on not just goals, but scope, security, confirming what data specifically you need in terms of doing the audit. So whether that's invoices, POs, payments, and PRGX would need in terms of your system. We will then pull that data, we'll load it inside of our tool so that we can look at things like the overpayments, discounts, and other billing errors. And as further as we go on, we're going to help review any transactions, any statements we have, as well as claims, and work directly with your suppliers to help recover money. So I know that's high level, kind of the step-by-step what we go through. David, what would you add to that?
I mean, really, excuse me, really what this is meant to be is just a kickoff. So like, this is the first introduction to all of us. We want this to be interactive and have you ask questions, right? So there's a lot of words on this page and stages, but we're going to break down, and really we're focusing on kind of just what's on the left, right? We'll kind of give you, like Mike said, kind of the goals, you know, what our expectations that you would have of us, we believe, and make sure those are aligned, that we have of you to kick this off. And then go through, and we're going to just start with the data discussion, just what we say we need. You can ask questions, system access. So please jump in at any point with some questions.
Okay, thank you.
Do you guys have any questions so far in terms of what we're covering?
Not from my side.
All right, clear as mud. That's what I like. So in terms of a scope overview, just to kind of break this down, this is for your Canadian disbursement, but also your supplier statement recovery audit. We're going to use our tools to review all your Excel affiliates' past payment and purchasing data to find anything that was overpaid. We will look at duplicate payments, wrong prices on taxes. We'll look for any payments made to the wrong supplier, any missed discounts, rebates, overpays on shipping, or even taxes. All of those things are getting covered when it comes to this audit. We'll also contact and work with Excel's vendors to compare any statements and uncover any credits or refunds that are owed. So I don't know if there's anything, David, again, you or Carolyn want to add to this, but go ahead.
For me, let's just confirm the scope of how far back the data that you would like us to review. To anyone on the call from the non-PRGX side? Like maybe Mateo, like did you have an idea of what the scope that you were thinking of when you?
So I think this is more on the team in Canada, on Sammy. Sammy, you probably have a better idea.
Yeah, but just I have a question there. So what do you mean here by Excel affiliation, please?
That's just a reference to the older organization, really. I mean, it's really the scope of what you're covering. We just had an old name in our update here.
So is it a name of a company? Is it what is it for? I don't get it, to be honest.
I think what they're referring, Sammy, is because we use Excel affiliates in our contracts, so it can be a broader example. We usually master service agreement, and then we say all Excel affiliates of DHL.
Okay. So because that's one of the questions. There is another question from my side. So because I think one of the questions raised when Mateo were explaining to us what's going on or how it's gonna be with PRGX. So how PRGX are going to process. So do they need us to provide them? So I will tell you some data here, some information to know what I mean here. So how we deal with our vendors, we receive statement of account, we reconcile this statement of account to see if there's some duplication in invoices, if these invoices are valid or not valid. But in this case, you have only the outstanding invoices which we have with the vendor. The oldest one, which we already paid them, they already done not showing in the statement of account. So what you are expecting from our side, how you are going to proceed in this situation.
So we'll take all the information that we get from the suppliers, and if you're saying in that example where we reconcile everything, there's no overpayments, there's nothing else that we show is valid that would be potentially due, as part of a finding, let's say, and you're saying there's only an open invoice. We can decide that now, or we would get and have a deeper dive discussion where you would tell us, what do you want us to do with those? We could direct those to a person, we could direct those to an email box. It varies at how our other clients handle it.
Yeah, so that means because we are okay. So if we want to look for all data, like data we already closed, we already paid, etc. Because that on data now, the data we are working on now, we reconcile them already. We know what if there is an invoice duplicated, if there is an invoice overpaid or whatever. So we have that information now in our hands, how to go with the outstanding invoices. But let's say that we have mistakes in this, that the cases which already closed are not showing in the updated statement for account of the vendor. That means you may need to get reports from our side from our data. But how much this data will be helpful for you to get through your process, because
so we're going to request live data from you, right? So you'll give us a data, a dump of the data from your system, as well as we request live access. And so the access that we would request, and these are like field, there's, Mike, do you have the other slide with the tables?
I do not.
Updated? Okay, so we're going to give you a list of tables that we would want to extract, and then we're going to want live system access. So as long as you've done all of that work and then put it in your system, we're going to cross-reference that for anything we find, and we would not bring forward items that you've already addressed internally.
Okay, so you will, in this case, you mean you will look into the live data and the old data?
Correct, yeah. We start with the old data, we do all of our analysis on anything that's there, we'll catch up on any potential duplicates from the old data, and, we're getting data, let's say we get data, at the end of the month, that will bring us till today, right? But as we're going forward, in 1 week, that data is going to be aged, right? So you've done transactions or you've made corrections where things have happened. And so the backup step after we find something that's potentially due is we double check that in your system to make sure that you haven't already identified that. Then we would then deliver that claim package to you for review as a final check.
Okay, so in this case, we are talking about old data. How old these data are?
Well, that was my original question. How far back are we going? So if we want to go back to 2023, which would be generally what we would do, we'd go back 3 years. So we could run out all of our analytical routines to produce exceptions. We would skip data from, let's say, January of 2023 till current.
Yeah, I think I would say probably 3 years makes sense. We might have vendors where we have some limitations in contracts when it comes to this type of reviews or audits, right? So that's maybe something I don't know exactly what, there's no general rule, I would say, but I think if we would go back 3 years, that should probably be fine with most of our vendors and what we have in their contracts.
So the other piece of that is we can get the data for 3 years, and before we do anything, we still come back with a list of suppliers we're going to contact. And at that point, again, there's another step in place. If you say, no, you know what? You can look for duplicates on that supplier, but, let's not do anything else. You'll have the final say before we go forward and contact your vendors.
Yeah, okay. Good, okay.
So as part of that process, as part of our follow-up, we'll include those data tables so that you know exactly what to extract.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
If the criteria is 3 years and if we identify something related to taxes within that 3 years, can we then extend that to 1 more year further back? Because I think we have a potential allowance for 4 years for taxes, for example. I don't know, just
There's a couple different ways we can handle that. Obviously, we don't want to be, overburdening the IT team. So we can start with giving us 4 years of data, and then therefore the scope of what we want to do, but we can limit our exceptions to, an earlier part of that, right? So a 3-year period. And then we have the data already if we need to go back and uncover something. But we wouldn't want it to be, if we found something, it would have to be material enough to get prioritized again and deliver IT. So we can address it, once we send over the tables that we're asking for, we can take 5 years of that. It's really more on your side what you're comfortable with. But what we really do is we focus on 3 years, and if you give us the data, we can go back at that point if applicable.
It's just a question. I'm not saying we should change it.
It's whatever you guys decide. Absolutely, we're really, really flexible as to what makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Sharon, you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick question, just associated with what Amal just asked. Would CDSA also be within the scope?
With what be in scope?
Canada Customs as a vendor?
Again, we defer to you. I mean, if it's really something that you want us to review, probably not. But I would say it's up to you on what you would want us to look for across that supplier.
So we would have to define the vendors in scope.
Yeah, we will give you a list of what we think should be in scope, and then you'll review it and then say that's good, or you'll say no, let's take that vendor out, or those types of transactions. I mean, we're not going to cover internal transactions, right? Those are internal, so those are going to be out of scope. We're not going to cover any reimbursements to your employees, none of that type of stuff is in scope for this review, right? It's really with your suppliers.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. In terms of expectations for success on the PRGX side, we're going to help recover again any overpayments and perform root cause analysis to identify why things are occurring. We also recommend process improvements based on the findings that we have in the audit. We also typically operate pretty independently and do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the overall audit. And then in terms of prioritization, we'll work with you on that in terms of not just the data, but the suppliers that we're working with, the documents, any relevant email accounts as well. And then typically we process claims within 5 days and help assist again in resolving any specific vendor-related issues if needed. So that's what you can expect from our side. In terms of the DHL side, you can expect us to help again recover overpayments, identify root cause analysis, provide recommendations for improvement, as well as provide reporting. I don't know, David, if there's anything you'd add to that.
No, I mean, I think the key here for most of our engagement with the clients is stakeholders, and so it looks like all the stakeholders are on this call. There's going to be, when we kick this off, you're going to get a question from a supplier, like, what is this? Is this legitimate, right? We want to go through that process with you ahead of time, so we'll talk about, you'll also approve the letter we use to outreach, how we outreach, right? Or, what's the email address and those types of things. So when it says, for us, your expectation of us to work minimally and kind of independent is that we want to do all the heavy lifting and then come, meet with you, we'll set cadence governance calls, once every 2 weeks or once, as applicable that you agree with for okay, here's our findings. You'll go off and review the first batch with a close eye, right? Because it's your first batch from us, and to make sure we haven't made any mistakes. And then we'll have to figure out, all the way down to how do you want the submissions to you, what fields need to be included, how we're going to invoice you, how we're set up in your system, as a PO vendor, non-PO vendor, all those types of things. We'll go through as part of like the deep dive call. Success again is, making sure everyone on this call is aligned and comfortable with, we're already doing some of the other affiliates, but we haven't done with you yet. And we want to make sure that you're very comfortable with that. It's always going to be an open dialogue of questions to make sure that, we're all on the same page. As far as from our side, yes, as Mike said, access to your system so we can do extra research because we don't want you to have to do that research. An email account, processing the data so we can get the audit started for you and start delivering value. We don't know how many things we're going to find. I mean, if you already are doing a review internally, we probably would expect to find less. If you're reviewing statement of accounts and duplicates already, so there might not be that many recoveries, but, hopefully we can, if there are any, we will identify those and, give you the root causes for those. And then occasionally we'll have situations where a supplier, they acknowledge something is valid, but they say they're going to send us, documentation to support it, they won't. Or sometimes your details that are in the system may not be the correct contact information, so we're not getting a reply. So we might reach out, in getting replies back from suppliers. So that's like our ask of you throughout this process.
Okay, just a question here, back to the first point about reaching out to vendors. I think one of the topics as well we discussed with Matteo. What I understood from that discussion that PRGX won't reach any vendor until they tell us that this vendor they are going to communicate with these vendors, because we want to avoid any disruption or any confusion to our vendors, especially main carriers, which our relationship with them is very sensitive in a specific way. So this one of the main point I think I found it good to highlight here. So to coordinate, so I know that independent, you work independently, but communicating or coordinating with us to which vendor you are reaching out, and if we are okay to reach that vendor, I think this is would be very good as well, because we had some for example, I'll give you some example for MSC. We had a lot of offset cases with them, so not all the cases went through specific way. So and that because of they messed up a lot, and we need to find a solution. And now if you go back to them and ask them to this old data, they will get maybe confused and say, oh, what's you're doing. So for example, from my perspective, we don't want to go to them for this topic, for MSC, for example. This is one of our biggest vendor. Now, that's why I think it's good to decide together which vendor you are going to reach out. So from that perspective, we avoid any confusion or misunderstanding from vendor side.
Absolutely. Nothing to add to that. We will 100%, once we get the data, we will produce a list and have you review it first. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the first steps. Absolutely. No problem.
Okay, great.
Alrighty. Just to kind of go through a pre-audit checklist in terms of kind of the way that we work. Before the audit starts, we typically need access to invoice images and read-only access to your ERP system, as well as a shared email account for communications. We typically interview people in accounts payable and other groups to understand your processes, to understand where there might be issues like you were talking about just now. And we will agree with you on how we approach supplier statements, how exceptions will be reported, and how open checks are going to be handled. And then also you'll help set up PRGX online. We'll set up an online claim portal as part of that. And we can help, assign who's approving claims, who's will align with you on purposes, attendees and agendas, all as part of our process. So that should give you an idea, kind of high level of how we operate in terms of support and interviews and our claim portal. David, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that.
Just if there's any questions for the team from the DHL side.
We have. I think all the steps need details, to be honest, one by one. But I think if it's just kick-off call, so it's okay. So we know what we're going through. But I think each of these points need details.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the kickoff call, right? As Mike, showed our shop process back. Mike, if you want to go back a couple slides where we have the highlighted box on the left. So this is like the kickoff meeting, upper left, right? So that's where we are. So then we'll go through all those details. And again, I don't think it's going to take hours, but it might take an hour or two, total to kind of confirm all those things to start, right? We can start the data activities. Then there's certain things that can't happen until we get the data process. For example, you can't down select vendors until we give you a list of vendors that we think we might want to look at, right? As part of the process based on, we're going to remove, like we said, we're going to remove government agencies, we're going to remove intercompany transactions, we're going to try to identify customers, we're going to try to identify employees, and we'll remove all that, and then we'll still give you the list of saying, here's who we already removed, who else do you want to remove? So we can't do that step until we get the data. So to your point, 100%, we will go, there'll be detailed dives under each of those. Ahmad, question?
Yeah, I just had a question on this on when we provide the data. Do you guys have a threshold that you would apply to the vendors to make your selection?
Generally, if there's 5 transactions or less as a total vendor for a year, we generally don't look at it from a statement outreach perspective, just because it's too small, right? From a exception reporting, we will run all data through our exceptions, and if there's a hit, I mean, you can tell us if you want the threshold to be higher, but we really don't have a threshold on that. If a duplicate payment is made and it's valid, I mean, you know, you're going to want it. But you might say, some clients come back and say, we don't want to look at anything less than $100. We don't want to look at anything less than $500. You know, whatever you set up. Again, we're really here to work with you through this process and be a business health check behind your internal processes. You're going to be right 99.99% of the time, and we're cleaning up the things that are like kind of anomalies. And then if there are trends or something that's wider than that, obviously we'll give you root cause so you can fix those going forward. But we'll go through that threshold selection as well.
And I see you in the box you mentioned GL. So the fact that you want a GL, do you guys also look at what's like a trade spend versus non-trade spend and make some assumptions like that, or you're only looking at what's in the AP?
We're really looking at your suppliers, right? And so if that's an AP, the GL is really there to do a couple things. One is sometimes you may require coding on some of our findings and where you want that to go. So if we don't have the GL, we're not going to. Okay. And then the second thing is we see trending on errors in your GLs. Again, not intercompany transactions, right? Those are internal that we're not going to audit. But that helps us find and hone in on potential other errors.
Okay. Thanks. Those were the 2 questions I had. Thank you.
So in terms of next steps, we would obviously love to get a full data set needed from you guys to do the audit, and the log of any checks that have not been cashed. We also would love to get obviously remote system access set up, including an email account. We would also love to review and approve the pre-audit checklist. Again, we did that today, as well as communication materials that we'll use, which is something we will work with you on, as well as then we will, again, as part of this, schedule a kind of a kickoff meeting and invite any stakeholders and participants to go through that. But that kind of gives you an idea of next steps. Any questions on that?
Just what the details you need in the data set?
Yeah, right after this, we'll send you, let me see if I can pull it up just so you have a view of it. But it's just going to be, there's like 13 tables from, you're on SAP, correct?
S21.
By any chance, Josh, I know you're on our data person. Do you have that handy?
Was that JBA? Yeah, but it's the new version. It's S21 3.1.
Okay, yeah. So we do have some experience with that system. I can send you both a generic request, which will show you the fields that we are focused on. And then I will also send you a list of tables that we have used in the past to help us build our AP output, so that burden is not on you guys to gather all the information. We can do that if you guys do a straight table dump. So I will put that list together and get that over to you.
What's your experience with S21? Have your firm been given access to S21?
No, I just have experience working with back-end tables.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought, because
Yeah.
I know that the owners of 21 are really reluctant having any third party having access to this system. So we'll provide any data that's necessary, but access probably wouldn't be granted globally. It's not a decision at the country level.
Sure.
All right, perfect, guys. As part of this, I can send an email follow-up with a summary and list of next steps and include the deck that we reviewed today to kind of give you an idea of everything that we need. We'll also include the data sheet and the tables of everything we need in terms of getting the data sent over and the audit started, as well as some dates and times we can meet to continue discussions next week. How does that sound?
Sounds good?
Good.
Sounds good. I just have a question, mostly on the Canada team, like for the PRGX team, like who will be leading the project? I mean, I'm of course responsible for the overall part of making sure that everything is moving along, but it will be ideal if, let's say, Sammy is the head and then Sammy distributes the information and so forth, so we can have clarity who to reach out to who. So whoever you guys decide is fine, but it doesn't have to be right now, but just wanted to make sure that there's a streamline of communication, and not just emails to everybody else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think it would be, in this case, would be Sammy as the AP head for Canada. So
Sounds great.
Awesome. No, sounds great. So,
Okay.
anything that for both teams, anything that I can support you with so the implementation can go smoothly or anything, just let me know. Super happy to make the process finally moving along. All right?
Yes.
yeah, no, thank
That's
you.
great.
Thanks for setting everything up. And yeah, we're looking forward to see the results. And yeah, it's good that we move along.
We have only heard great things about PRGX, so no pressure on your side.
No pressure at all.
No pressure.
Okay, that's great. It was nice meeting all of you. Look forward to a positive business relationship. So we'll just wait till our next meeting call.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye-bye.
weekend.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.
You too. Bye.